Hello all. This is a bit of a shout out to a newish channel I've just come across in the last month. Stuart at LP Classical. Um, he used to be a dealer, or still is to a certain extent, of vinyl. Very interesting channel for me because um, even though he's younger than I am, um, there are certain things that cross over. Like on his latest video, he went down to a charity shop and picked up a handful of LPs for peanuts, which is that's where I'm at. That's my kick. Um, and he was concerned about some. He bought a Seekers album, you know, Australia's Seekers, Judith Durham, rest in peace. Tiny little woman with a huge voice, beautiful voice. Those Seekers records. I think the Seekers were the first Australian band to go #1 worldwide. I don't mean solo artists like Slim Dusty or God forbid, Rolf Harris. Wasn't really an Australian anyway. His parents are Welsh and they grew up in Western Australia. I don't even know where that is. I think it's somewhere on this continent in the West. Enough said of that. Oh, by the way, on the subject of dear old Uncle Rolf, um, you should watch those. I don't know if they've taken them down, but he used to make videos about stranger danger. Wow, isn't that interesting? As a victim of sexual abuse when I was a child, I take this matter quite seriously, and I found out that Rolf's brother lived down the posh end of Gymea Bay, the southern suburb of Sydney, where I grew up, on Coonong Road actually. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, holy crap, that dirty old perv's driven down Coonong Road that many times. And yeah, funny old world, isn't it? That's the funny thing about Australia. It's this massive continent. You can fit the whole of Western Europe in Australia. You know, the whole of the USA in it and a bit more. It, but everyone seems to know everyone else's secrets. Well, I'm talking about 50 years ago or whatever, but not so much these days. I'm off track. Lack of sleep, stinking heat. Yeah, so Stuart, LP Classical. I actually had to go out to vote for the local council elections yesterday, and I thought I'd just duck down to the little one of the thrift shops here in town, and I got there and it was closed, and I thought, oh no, they've probably shut down early for Christmas and the New Year, and that's probably my only way of getting some new vinyl into the house. Like occasionally someone dies and there's a few good classicals. That's about it though. But they are very cheap compared with the Salvos or St Vinnies, and a lot of these things I just buy because I like the label, or just it's not necessarily about the music. Sometimes it's a bonus if it is. And some of the things that Stuart uh, poo poos and goes, oh, it's just common. But here down here at the bottom of the world, something like that would be poo pooed in the UK is not poo pooed here because it's very very hard to find classical vinyl from that classic period of um, classical vinyl. The 60s, 50s, and the 60s. Pre-digital. Uh, so I sort of get a vicarious kick out of watching his when he goes in and comes back with little finds from the charity stores. And anyway, this is waffling on. Um, and one other thing, he bought the Seekers, right? Okay. Um, the cover looked perfect. He wasn't sure about the Columbia label, the UK Columbia. Not like another guy with the word classic in his title. I think it's called Classic Albums Channel or something. He's not a very, he sort of looks like the cover of that. Gentle Giant album where there's this sort of elf thing on the cover. He looks exactly the same as it. I don't like Gentle Giant. I don't like prog. Um, uh, yeah, and that guy, he now I've lost track. What was I talking about? Anyway, doesn't matter. Classic. Oh, for Christ's sake, forget it. Anyway, he's sunk to the lowest levels. This guy. I mean, this guy just now. His videos now are just things like bands I effing hate or bands I effing love, and he reads it off a list. You know, the jump cuts. You know, you'll be going, and the latest, and then his head moves a fraction, and then he says three more words. Look, I've gone off track here. Lack of sleep. Yes, and Stuart was concerned about hairline scratches on the Seekers. Now, from my experience, you know, hairline scratches are never a problem, especially from the 1950s and 60s vinyl. It's tough vinyl. It's just built to take a beating, you know. Um, and the thing you've got to look out for, I've got to finish this off. The bloody cat wants to go. I've got to finish this off. Be careful. One thing Stuart did on his video was go into an auction and go through and predict what ones he thought would sell and what wouldn't, and he was pretty damn close. I tell you, he nailed it. Very interesting to me. I love this sort of stuff, and it's very interesting to me. Uh, and he said he was concerned about the Seekers record because of hairline scratches. Well, I put a response on there. I said, look, that's not what you got to worry about. It says someone played it on a cheap plastic dancette type machine with 8 grams of pressure. You know, that'll destroy a record in next to no time, and you won't even see it. It'll look perfect. It'll sound like absolute fucking shit. Um, Hairline scratches is never a problem. But see, I'm not into selling records on Discogs or eBay or any of that shit. So if you tried to sell the Seekers with hairline scratches, someone would probably go, oh, it's got scratches on it. Who the fuck would buy the Seekers on eBay or Discogs anyway? They're meant to be found in charity shops for 5 cents or 10 cents. That's all they, or in the UK or whatever it is there, 50p or something. It's just it's the way it is. But I'm waffling. I bought a mono Sergeant Pepper many years ago. I've got one here, excellent double plus, my original, and but I saw another copy and it had a good cover, better cover than my original. It's just my one's got a little bend in it, a scratch. One of my mates, I lent it to him, which is a mistake. But anyway, I got this other copy. Didn't pay much for it, luckily. But when I went, wow, it looks absolutely perfect. Except there was a big scratch through Within You, Without You. And I thought, uh-oh. Now, I've always loved that track on Sergeant Pepper. And I think it's great. But someone obviously didn't like it because there was a scratch in it and it'd go click, 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 click. But apart from that obvious scratch, which kept the price down, the album looked absolutely immaculate. And it played immaculate, apart from that Within You, Without You. But when it came to one of the few Paul McCartney songs I can actually stomach listening to, She's Leaving Home, which I really like, the sound just dropped dramatically. And I looked at it, and I got in and checked the grooves, and someone has definitely not liked the album particularly at all, especially the George Harrison track, but they love She's Leaving Home, and you can see, you can see little bits of damage. They've just put it on, and because it's a mono, there's no bands to separate the tracks. Each song flows into the next one, so you just got to guess where a song starts and where it ends. And someone who's owned this has only listened to She's Leaving Home over and over and over again. And you can hear the damage. You can hear it, you know. I've got very sensitive hearing. and you can hear it. It's just an instant drop in quality, and you know, you can see the needle starts to move around a bit. The grooves have been spread from probably been played with an 8 gram pressure on a plastic player. So you can look at a record. Um, and someone says, visually excellent or mint minus, don't go near it. Yeah, it's insane to even bother. If it hasn't been play tested, don't touch it. Anyway, waffle time. Yeah, check out. Oh, and by the way, Harris Pilton was slumming it on Stewart's channel recently too, and Harris has been very quiet lately, so he's been naughty. Anyway, bye.